Finally got sick and tired of sending it to kids to give you access. Okay, cool. I think we need to make additions. It's a little long. I just came from the necklace, so it's published. We're good. We're on. I had to send Park off 6 o'clock this morning. He's on me. He's out east. He's on me. This is where I live. He's so funny. What's that? Live. It's on. Yep. It's live. Started in my mind.
He's going to beat the shot. I'm sure he's in the middle. He's
coming, yeah. But I said probably not. They'll figure it out. Another one. Okay, so I'll be there. Being a president, so do I know. By the way, you know, I'm sort of say what I'm saying. It's not just the young. It's like the whole Indian. Whatever he's saying, I don't get it. I figure, what the heck? To show up.
Begin by thanking the Parnasim, the Parnas Hayom, Alyssa and Josh Weinberg, Ilu Nishmas, Avram Mordechai Ben Shlomo, and Shom Shav Nali, and finish with Symphonachas and Bracha, the Parnas HaChaydesh, the Hershkovich family, Ilu Nishmas, Leah Sar Baz Zev, and the Shom Shav Leah from Symphonachas and Bracha, and the Parnas HaShana, who remains hidden, the Ilu Nishmas of Gedaliah Ben Reb Shimon, is the Shom Shav Nali, Symphonachas and Bracha. Amen. Ayaka. Page Sadik test. We're learning about our chipus, our search for chofesh, and what chofesh truly means. This was the question that HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked Ayaka. V'omnam hachofesh hanishmasi hazeh eino nolad miyad. This chofesh that we're talking about, this, I don't know how to just keep on translating the word. This is not, the word in English is not really freedom. This chofesh hanishmasi, this chofesh of the soul, to be able to experience that chofesh. This doesn't happen right away. And it doesn't appear b'kalus raba. It's not easy to be able to experience this, to connect to this. Kevan. To begin with, our lives at the start our lives are busy with the Yetzar. Yetzer Lev Adam Ramin Hurov. From the earliest time in our lives, we have all kinds of habits. So Tchila Ha'adam Tzarech Lich B'Yish Kayches Namuchim U'Shvelim Shavon. And because of this, the way that Hashem Yisbarach created us in this way, as we were learning about in the earlier shir today, that there's Veisha Chashucha Bahar and Nahara, first it's Vahi Erev and then it's Vahi Boker. It's the same thing in a person's life. Even though being a little child is wonderful, it's enjoyable, we all miss that. Nevertheless, a child is a creature of taiva, of wildness, of impulse, and so on. And Akash Baruch Hu wants us, and He created us in such a way that first we have to work very hard on being koivish those koiches nemuchim u'shvelim shebo, the lower, more base koiches to overcome them and to conquer them and so on. In order for a person to be able to ascend and to transcend the migbalus of the guf, the confinement, the boundaries that we've been talking about these past few months of the guf, of the body. In order to allow that or of the neshama to be able to shine. We see that the beginning of Avraham Avinu and the beginning of Am Yisrael, the whole kedusha of the bris that Hashem made with Avraham Avinu, of removing that covering, of removing the inyan of the bris, the inyan of the cutting away, is to be megala, in order to be able to megala the neshama, in order to be able to reveal the neshama, in order to be able to experience that chofesh of the neshama. One first must remove the orla, to remove the covering. To remove the covering. Yeah, there's a very big machlokes in halacha. What's the mitzvah of milah? Is it the ma'aseh milah, or is it the mitzvah of being gemalt? Is it the act of bris milah? Which is strange, because the baby, it's the biggest thing in the baby's life is the kedushas of bris, and the baby can't do it. I mean, if he grows up and nobody gave him a bris, of course he has to take care of it. Then we have many, so that would seem to imply that it's not the ma'aseh of actually the bris. That's just a means of creating this reality that this kid or this Jew is gemal. He's circumcised. It's not the ikar, is not the ma'aseh hamila itself. And that would imply that the truth is that throughout the person's life, he's mekayim the mitzvah of milah, because the mitzvah of milah is essentially that reality of living in that, connected to that reality, that the guf, my body, is not what determines who I am. So from the very beginning of the child's life, I'm not going into the inyan of how that applies to women right now, but from the very beginning of the child's life, that obstruction is taken away. That covering is taken away. That's what it means. and the rest of the child's life, it's a matter of being able to live in that reality of the neshama, of the connection that the neshama has to the guf. That the guf should not conceal, should not cover, should not hide, should not keep the person from who he really is. That's the whole mitzvah of milah. So there seems to be, without going into the halacha right now, there seems to be some sort of a combination of, there's a mitzvah in the ma'aseh milah, and the mitzvah of being gemat. Like when David Melech, Chazal tells, when David Melech was in the mikveh, so for a second he had a chalisha zadas that he doesn't have any mitzvahs to do. And then he remembered that because he was there getting ready to go into the water, that he's gemal, that he has the mitzvah, he has the bris. So if the mitzvah was just the act on the 8th day of cutting the orla, so then what does it mean? He doesn't have any, there's no mitzvah. The same way he's not putting on tefillin, he's not putting on tzitzis, he's undressed in the mikveh. The Teretz says, the Sfarim say, that mitzvah of being gemal, the mitzvah of being circumcised, means that reality of that a Jew lives in such a state where, to begin with, Hashem took away, through the mitzvah of milah, took away the covering of the soul, and gives the person access to that part of himself, of who he really is. That's the mitzvah of milah. His halach lefana dehei esamim ushmartem es brisi. Shmiras habris means to, throughout one's life, that's what we've been learning about in Yesvet Tzaddik all these years. Shmiras habris, to guard the bris, means to guard that reality, to guard that mitzvah of who I am. That I'm the neshama in a guf. I'm not stam a guf. I'm not stam a guf. I'm a neshama in the guf. That's who I am. My neshama is who I am. And that's shmiras habris throughout one's life. It's not just at the 8th day. Throughout one's life, shmiras habris, that kedusha that keeps you connected to your neshama. Obviously, pagam habris means damaging that equation of guf and neshama. That's pagam habris. Every aveira, at some level, is a pagam habris. But the ikr, gamma bris, is when it comes to that part of oneself, that however that works is not for now, but that part of oneself that is that place of like we were learning this morning, Shemayim and Aretz. That's why new life comes from that part of the body. The neshama that can be such a mitzvah, that the neshama in a guf comes from that part of the body. So that's a shmir throughout one's entire life. He says, therefore, that same part of the body and that same part of the person's life is connected to the lowest things. It can be the most disgusting and low thing. The orla has to be removed. He says, so the women don't have to do that biologically, physically, but the umaltimus orlas levavchem is a mitzvah for the women as well. Umaltimus orlas levavchem, and that goes back to what we're learning this morning, the orlas halev, to be able to make that connection between the neshama and the guf, Shemayim and Aretz, and this is hard. Lo bekalus rabba ta'ir on neshama v'adam. It's not. It doesn't happen automatically. That the neshama is shining in the guf. That the kid becomes bar mitzvah, the girl becomes bas mitzvah, and all of a sudden, I want to be the Chavetz Chaim or something. It doesn't happen like that. It's not easy. All the kalus rabba Torah and neshama v'adam. Ela b'yigiyah v'amal. B'yigiyah v'amal. It takes a lot of hard work. That's what Hashem wants us to do. To work hard. The ma'amad shel zikuch v'ribui tahara kedusha, through refinement and purifying oneself, tahara kedusha, working hard. Nimsa sha'aderech el hacherus ha'amitis, the path towards true freedom, shows towards true cherus, el ha'chayfesh ha'pnimi, pnimis dika chayfesh, koleles gam talich ma'amik shel kibush v'risun includes, depends upon this process. It takes time. Ma'amik, a very, very intense, hard work to conquer and to control the kaiches shlilim, the negative kaiches, the dark kaiches, and the yitzarim, and the yitzrim, meaning of the yitzhar, to take control of. Idunam v'zikucham, to refine, to purify and to refine, ad shiyum mechubarim el kedusha, until they are mechubarim, until they're connected to kedusha. L'maisa, kisha adam noilad, and that's the mitzvah is that when a person is born, when we're little, we only know the most external part of ourselves. We just know the physical part of ourselves. Hamemad hagufani. That part of us that's physical. Ach atzmius ha'adam hi harbe yoyser amuka mekifa. But the atzmius, the essence of who the person is of course much, much, much deeper and encompassing. And to the degree that a person develops in his life, meaning mitoch avoda atzmis, working on his midas, working especially on kedusha. Why does Hashem Baruch make us in such a way to only get that all of these powerful kaiches that begin to develop, especially during the time of adolescence? It seems like it's like, why didn't Hashem just make it that you should just have a carefree time when you're growing up, and then all of a sudden, like, right when it comes time to get married by the chasna, all of a sudden, then all these kaiches, physically develop, emotionally develop, the needs and the yetzaras. Why did Hashem make it those crazy years that all parents, not all parents, most parents are trying to figure the kids out, those teenage years, those adolescent years, like sometimes they can't even recognize who this person is, and that craziness and the wildness and the strangeness of the child, and the child discovering funny things about his body, about her body, and all of a sudden, all kinds of machshavas, and it's a haralach, and all kinds of things going on. Kosh Moshe just made that when you make out the invitation for the chasna, then boom. The chasna kala, give him some classes, go to the doctor for a talk or two, and everything gets started. Why they should make it those years from puberty until the chuppah, Hashem's book made in such a way. It seems like it's very hard not to mess up. It causes all kinds of challenges and difficulties, and the answer is that's exactly it. That's the avodah. Yetzer leif adam rami ne'urav. Because Baruch Hu did not want the person to come under the chuppah like this from yesterday to today, because the life of the husband and wife is supposed to be a life of kedusha, a life of yichud. That's the tachlis, a life of kedusha, a life of yichud. But that doesn't happen suddenly. Hashem Yisrael put us through that whole time of adolescence, of puberty and adolescence, of the teenage years, in order to work. In order to work. Midas, Kedusha, Tahara, those years. Ad shi mechubar mel Kedusha. Ad shi mechubar mel Kedusha. Until one is connected to Kedusha. And the point is to get married in such a way. Of course, it's oftentimes not how things work out. But that's how it's supposed to be. And that's what that time is for. So it's a strange thing that Hashem created in the human being, each and every one of us, a very painful period of self-denial. And it's very hard to explain to an immature child or an immature teenager, a kid, that why did Hashem say, I can't do this? I want to do this. I want to do this. I feel like I must do this. I feel like I need to do this. And then if you ask a secular doctor or somebody that's not Jewish, will say you absolutely should do that. It's not healthy not to do that. You must give in to your body. You must surrender to the body. Hashem Dafka made a time in life where He's telling the person, this whole time of your life is not to surrender to your body. And I've made it difficult for you, but this is a time not to surrender. This is a time to take control of your body. Of course, that could extend many years beyond that, depending on each person's life. And it doesn't necessarily stop when the person is married either, depending upon how hard he or she worked on this avodah in the early years. It's very hard to get started all of a sudden. So I've had this conversation with many guys that after they got married, that I thought now it was going to be like, once I'm married, it's going to be pashat, the whole thing. I'm going to be a big tzaddik once I'm married. And they're very, very broken to discover that there are certain things about themselves that are worse than when they were kids. It's not pashat. When a person is born, this is what he meets up with. When the person develops and works on himself, avoda atzmis b'pituach nafsho. Then he goes and he's able to get into, to discover the revodim ha'amukim, those deeper layers of who he is. Shalatz miyusa. And that's what all the Svarma tell us. And that's the beginning, the first words that Kadosh Baruch Hu said. Davin was Lech Lecha. And Lech Lecha, as the Svarma Svasamas, all the Tzaddikim say, Lech Lecha means that the job of becoming a Jew is that journey, Lech Lecha, to go to find that deeper part of who you are, Lech Lecha. Otherwise, could have just said, Lech Eretz Asher Areka. And Hashem Yisrael didn't show Avinu. It wasn't clear to Avinu where he was going. And that's a very hard sign. But the Lech Lecha is to go. The whole tachlis of a person's life is to go and find yourself. Lech Lecha. Not by going other places. Lech Lecha. And over the course of the time, Holechu Umakir, hopefully the person develops in such a way and he begins to realize, Shu'ena Raguf. The baby is just a goof. I'm hungry, I'm tired, he starts crying. The baby is just a goof. But over time, Holechu Umakir, Shu'ena Raguf. Maturing means fighting against that mistake to think that you're just a goof, and to come more into contact with the atzmius of who you are. Eliyesh b'kirbo nefesh yikara meira. To begin to see that you have within you a nefesh yikara meira, a lichtige soul. Sheish la ritzaynus tahir v'zakim ad moed. And this soul has within it ritzaynus tahir v'zakim ad moed, very, very pure and wonderful ritzaynus. I was talking to the Chabur yesterday a little bit about this. This week was a very, very historic and unusual and strange week because what happened here in America, which is, obviously has an effect upon the whole world, what happened here in America. I was talking about this a little bit yesterday, that one has to try to see in everything in life. You try to find in a cup of water, when something of this magnitude takes place. There's such a choice that American people made. Americans made such a choice. Which in the premise, the choice is a choice. What I'm going to say now sounds a little bit exaggerated and silly, but I don't believe so. It's a choice of neshama of a guf. It's this choice. Obviously, it's a different hasaga that a guy has. I'm not talking that Trump is learning Tanya. You understand? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there was a darkness in this country that affects the entire world. That was saying, the ikra is whatever you feel. Whatever you feel. Not hard work. Not to overcome. Even challenges that you have biologically. Not to overcome anything. That's bad. That's bad. Everything's supposed to be easy. It's hard for you to work, we'll give you money. We'll take care of you. The government will take care of you. You have a certain urge. You're 11 years old, don't tell your parents. We'll take care of you. We'll operate on you. Just think about where the country was heading. And Mimela, because America schleps around the whole world, where the country was heading. There's a koach of Ra in the world, in Paras Umadai, in Iran and Iraq, that whole chefs of Tumah that's in the world, of Yishmael. Try to be friends. Try diplomacy. Try talking to them. And Hashem Yisbarach said out loud this week, Hashem Yisbarach said, no, crush them. And what about sleeping in late and having somebody send you a check? Get out of bed and go to work. Nothing's for free. I mean, you go through all of the chilukim. Every single nakuda was this between neshama and guf. I say neshama, I'm borrowing. You understand? I mean, these people, these politicians, are not talking in pneumius and neshama, but what they're talking about is the yesod of a person being a bal bechira and taking control over his life, as opposed to being a baby, an infant that gives into every impulse and everything that's coming to you, and everybody has to take care of you. It was an unbelievable nitzacha that took place. for the world of Kedusha. And that's why I was never ever in my life was I so concerned and davening for this Indian to work out this way. It was always like when we were growing up, he was a nafkimin. It was a big nafkimin. But it came to such a point, like I was explaining at the beginning of the Milchama, do you belong to the Beis Medrash of Avram Avinu, or do you belong to the Beis Medrash of Bilam? This was such a decision that people made, and it was so, I found it to be so encouraging that the majority of Americans saw through that sheker. They saw through it. They saw through the shallowness of the guf. All of her laughing and her talking was all a nice kaif ba'alma. I won't translate it. It was a guf with a battery in it that was saying things, reading from an electric thing. It's not even a human being. It's not a regular human being. And the American people said, we're not buying it. It's an interesting thing. Americans, that they were able to salvage enough of a connection to something pnimi, to say that, and even though 99% of the media, you'll forgive me for talking Dvarim Shachal, but I want everything should be, we have to always think of things in Kedusha, what it means. Even though 90% of the time, all of them, all they were doing was trying to sell her. And they spent and billions of dollars, the whole thing. And the Welt didn't buy it. It's an amazing thing. It's something very encouraging about human beings. That because everything was, all of the coverings, everything was there. And all of the lying and all of the positioning and all of the manipulation and everything that they set up was such a vicious, the way that it was set up. And all of that, America saw through. People saw through. Like regular, nice, hardworking people said, no, this is sheker. This is sheker. This is not what God wanted. And it has a lot to do with God. Because the biggest supporters of her are godless people. Godless, not in Hebrew. Katnas. Without God. Are people that, and as opposed to simple, nice American people who always liked family and to go to church, loudly. You understand what I'm saying? They're simple, good people. Some of them are anti-Semites, not anti-Semites, I'm not talking about that. But just to have a musag of what it means to be a normal person, to be a good person, is that you have a soul. So you go to church. You're looking for God. Okay, she says. It's what it is, but they're looking for God. They're looking for God. They're looking for something pnim. You want your child to grow up to be a fine person. You want your child to be somebody that understands the difference between good and evil. And you want to know that there's evil that's called Hamas, that's called Iran, and there's good that's called Am Yisrael. You need to know that. And even a person who's not Jewish to have such a musag, that there's good and there's bad. And the American people chose good. Again, I'm not saying that he's the model of Kedusha and of good, but he's a clean Hashem's hand. And what happened in the summer, when it was like by a split second, not even, that he was going to get shot. And then afterwards, he went to be machni himself, to go to the Rebbe's oil, such a thing. And even though you say, like I said yesterday, even though for pictures, well, yeah, but he had such a musig, and that Hashem brought him to such a place that he went to say, puts a pushkin to say Kapitel Tilim, this guy. And it's such the whole thing is remarkable. And a person, and we should talk to our children about it, and our grandchildren, to see the Yad Hashem in such a thing that is part of what's happening in Eretz Yisrael, and the Milchama between Toiv and Ra, and when it was on October 7th, that since the Milchama, since the Holocaust, there wasn't such a thing to such an uncontrolled lust for the Jewish blood and to burn Jewish bodies and to decapitate and to rape and to not to be able to tolerate a Jewish guf, the body of a Jew, not just to kill, but to mutilate and to burn. That hasn't been since Amalek came out so strong by the Holocaust, came out in such a way, this koach in the world of Ra, that they not to be able to tolerate the presence of a guf of Yisrael. Because any Jewish guf is infinitely more refined than the nefesh of a guy. And not to be able to tolerate such a thing in the world. Not just that, it's not enough to kill. But to take hostages and to torture them and to go and to burn babies and cut off their heads, it's crazy. It's a para-adam in the world now. There's such a thing of Yishmael. And this is all connected. Everything that's happening is all connected. It's just what's going on. It's all connected. I had a fellow that came to see me yesterday. I'm going to say his name. He maybe would be uncomfortable. He says, I mentioned it yesterday. This is Balshua. He came with a little payas behind his ears, and he was called up already. He's going to be moving to Washington. He has a job. He's going to be in the White House. And he said, there's a lot of chevra with the amkas. He said he doesn't have to even take off his payas. He was thinking, should he take off his payas? Not. I said, what you should do is put on a necktie. Got to dress a little bit nicely, if you're going to go over there. But he said he's going to wear a necktie. So he's obviously this brilliant guy, and he was in there. He's only like 32 or something, and he's on the legal team there or something. I don't know exactly, but the press secretary. And there's also going to be a year. They're already calling up to make jobs. We're planning different things, and then it's going to be it's unbelievable. We'll be back like this. There'll be minyanim over there. I don't know what's going to go on over there. It's all this union of neshama and guf. And Hashem is telling us that Nishmas Yisrael is invincible. The neshama is invincible. And the neshama is going to win. And all of these that said all of these that were supporting her and they were behind her. Well, it's hard to believe that Jews still, it's hard to believe. But that the sheker of it, and now they're all crying, how did this happen? How did this happen? How could this have happened? How could this have happened? That's exactly what we're talking about. That's what he's writing. Deep inside of a person, any person, even someone that's not Jewish, there are Ritzanis that they're good things. Ritzanis is also created B'Tselem Elokim. The ones Ritzanis is Torah Mizakim Ad Moed U'Misvadeya El Chayi Ruach as the child grows up. Chayi Ruach and the Neshama Misvadeya means they become known to him, that he has something else inside of him. He's not just a guf. There's something else going on. The Misvadeya El Chayi Ruach U'Neshama Achavuyim B'Kirbo. He has a ruach, he has a neshama that's hidden within him. Shemavakshem or v'godol. And the neshama and the guf, they want or, they want light, and they want godless. Not with Hebrew godless. They want godless v'godol. Oisher, a wealth shechayim machshava v'regesh, that the neshama wants to have a life that's filled with machshava, deep thoughts and regesh and emotions. Not a guf. U'mesikos shel devekes elokis, and for a Jew to be able to, the soul of a Jew wants desperately to be able to taste, to give the guf this taste of the mesikos, the sweetness of what it means to have devekes with Hashem. What it means devekes elokis. V'asiyas tov ba'olam, to do good things in the world. V'asiyas tov ba'olam, to do good things in the world. Kach kechol sheha'adam mis'ala. So as the person ascends higher and higher and develops more and more, kach hatoda'ah ha'atzmi shelo, so his self-awareness. So toda'ah atzmi, it means self-awareness. So his self-awareness begins to develop, of the real self, of the lech lecha, begins to develop. Al mahuso v'ishiyuso, he begins to see more of his mahus, of who he really is. V'ishiyuso, and his personality, of who he really is. And that's what Hashem is putting all of Am Yisrael through right now. And it always comes with difficulties and challenges and wars, just like a kid growing up. And the war that's going on in Eretz Yisrael is, and that even against Jews everywhere in the world, Hashem is saying, got to grow up. It's time to grow up. It's time to know who you really are. It's time to know who you really are, what a Jew really is, to see who you really are, to see what it means to be a Yisrael, to be an Am Yisrael. It's interesting because I think in Eretz Yisrael, I read that over 60% of the Jews of Eretz Yisrael supported Trump. Because in America, it's 40%, which is the highest number in many years, 40% of the Jews. But in Eretz Yisrael, 60%. But in Eretz Yisrael, there's a whole huge population of left-wing, all the problems and the headaches we've been having before the Milchama, which had to do with leading into the Milchama, is coming from the very, very strong left wing. So you would think that there would be many, many more people in Eretz Yisrael that would have been behind the opposition to Trump. It's an interesting thing. The Teresh is that first, the Jews are much smarter. It's Am Chacham B'Nava. It's number one. Number two is that more than ever, Jews, even the ones that have all kinds of liberal things, there's more of a sense of being a Jew. That's all. More connected to who they are. That's been happening this last year. Much more of a connection to who am I really? And therefore there's this understanding that who I am really cannot possibly vote for that other side. Couldn't possibly conceive of such a thing. It's holeches u'misachmekes u'misvacheves. As the person develops and becomes more and more aware of that self, it becomes deeper, it becomes more expansive, expands. So the person comes to a clear awareness, hakara behira, shachayim hachumriyim omnam yikarim hey. Not chas v'shalom that physical life is not important, chas v'chalila. As we were learning this morning, and we always learn, that the whole tachlis is a dir b'tachtonim, that the Shekhinah should dwell in this world, and that our bodies are very, very holy, and we're meant to contain within it the aura of the Shekhinah. Physical life is not unimportant. It's not chas v'shalom shachayim hachayim onam yikarim hey. Physical life is yakar, is very valuable, very important. Achem enam kol haviyasa, but that's not the end of the story. Ruach ha'adam harbe yoseh gadol mehem. The ruach of a person is infinitely greater than that. And the whole tachlis is that the body should be refined and elevated by the neshama, and that the body should be a kli to hold the aura of the neshama, the Shekhinah. So there's no Indian in Yiddishkeit to reject the body like you have. Certain religions reject the physical and not to get married and so on and so forth. There's no Indian like this. It's out there. It should be a life of yichud and kedusha, and kedusha sagrofish, and shmira sagris, kedusha. Mitov kach adam haven, and over time the person, if he's working on this, begins to understand. He understands shechai chofesh amitim, a life of true chofesh. Chaim shel mimush atzmi, which means a life where you're able to actualize who you really are. You're able to bring out that atzmius of who you are. Yavo davke b'shah sheyifros es knafav haruchanius. That's only going to happen if you spread your spiritual wings, if you give the neshama a voice to be able to speak up. The next page. V'yoytzi el hapol es ha'or v'hatoy v'agnuzu b'nishmaso v'ruchim. To draw out with the help of Torah mitzvahs, all of our davening, all of our learning, and all of our mitzvahs. When you do that together with Hashem and believing in the presence of Hashem, not just because you like to learn, but with Hashem, and to bring out the tachlis of connecting to Hashem, then you're able to bring out el hapol. That's what chofesh is, to bring it el hapol as all of learning, all davening, all mitzvahs, to bring it el hapol as or v'hatoiv ha'gnuzim b'nishmaso v'ruch, all the or and all the toiv that's hidden in the neshama, in the ruach, and so on. Mitoch tovnazu, with this insight, with this understanding, Yavo ha'adam al sharei ha'torah d'recher. The person will enter into, will live a life of Torah, the ways of Torah. V'ashahem ha'nesivim Hashem gave us Torah and mitzvahs as the pathways. Ha'nesivim, ha'adrachim, la'atzmiach, to develop, l'ugalesis, or ha'atzmi ha'in sof. All of Torah mitzvahs. All the Torah mitzvahs are to help us bring out that or, to get to that. Hashem didn't just say Lech Lecha, Hashem said Lech Lecha, and then He gave us the Torah. This is the way you do it. Here's Torah and here's mitzvahs. And if you use these tools properly, correctly, then you will be able to come to that place. You will come to that place if you use these tools correctly. It means you remember who gave them to you and why He gave them to you. And you'll come to the place. Then you'll be able to be Megala. Now, a guy doesn't have, he has 7 mitzvahs. And the 7 mitzvahs that the guy has are to bring him and her to the tachlis of where they can be brought, which is a chashuv thing. And they could have Chai Olam Haba, not the same as a Jew, but they could have an Olam Haba. As the Rambam says, they could have a Chai Olam Haba. To use these mitzvahs as a means, and to stay away from those things that will make the covering too thick, and the separation between God too thick, Avodah Zarah and so on, to take away those things, and so you, on your level, will be able to actualize the deeper part of who you are, and to live a life that's deep, that's meaningful, a life of Amunah, a life of faith, and serving God as you can serve Him. And that's for somebody that's not Jewish as well. To find it's a different intensity of light. The nature of it is a different light. Well, it's not just intensity. The nature, but it's still sof kosof. He has his 7 mitzvahs, and that was given to the world to be able to facilitate in the life of that non-Jew, to be able to bring about a life of chiyus, of amunah, of simcha. Shatomen b'nishmas adam, that is hidden b'nishmas adam. B'garin asmayusa, and garin is a seed, meaning the very essence, the very core of the person's atzmius, of course, is this or ha'atzmi, ha'in sofi. Zeh ha'yesod ha'gadol sha'chofesh ha'amiti gones b'soich ha'kedushim. This is the yesod of everything, the foundation of everything. The true chofesh, to be truly free, true simcha, and so on. That's gones b'soich ha'kedusha. That's only to be found in the realm of kedusha, of holiness. When a person is living in a way that's synchronized with who he is. But that doesn't happen on its own. It takes a tremendous amount of work. The person has to refine the outer layers of his life. To peel away the peels that are of low things that are low and ugly, to peel them away. To discover the treasures, the deep treasures of his life. He has to peel away those klippas. Of course, here there are chilukim, the derech hachsidus, the derech musa, and so on, and the tzaddikim revealed to us that even for a person who's finding it so unbelievably impossible, or doesn't even think about that he has something deep inside of him, that by shining a powerful, powerful light of or Torah and mitzvahs and Yiddishkeit and Havas Yisrael and so on, it can blow away the outer layers. There is such a thing. The dynamite that blows away all those things. And where is it? It's the ikr and how to do this. We're not going to the different shittas right now. But you have to get through that outer layer, one way or the other, to get through the guf. How it happens, So it could either begin with more of this emphasis on Iraq, it could begin more by Asay Tai, but that's not for now. But one has to break through that. The tachlis is everybody agrees on, is to get to the neshama. How to get to the neshama, the different mahalchim, how to get to the neshama. And over the time, over history, there was different emphasis on this mahalch, how to get through that mahalch, and for different people. For one person davening, another person learning, for another person mitzvahs. But everybody agrees that the whole tachlis is Higo Alena. There's Gilui Ein Sof. That's the tachlis. It's to reveal the Ein Sof. Nobody disagrees with that. It's a shayla, what the method, what works for you better, works at this time works better, what's wrong with that. Everybody agrees that the tachlis is to be megala and neshama, to come to this chayfish, this simcha, of being connected of dveikis to Hashem. Nobody disagrees about that. So talich hamochalel shinui b'todah ha'atzmis, and this is a process that brings about a complete transformation, a change in one's entire way of looking at oneself. Who am I? Who am I? What am I? Who am I? Ad sha'adam maven shabakoshes ha'adam hazeh levad lo yimamshu es mishu be'emes. The person realizes that just wanting this world and pressing on this world, it's never ever going to bring you to who you really are. No matter what you get, no matter how successful you are, it's never ever going to bring you to that truth of me shu be'emes. Of me shu be'emes. That's why a couple of years ago at Shabbos Agol, I don't remember Shabbos Agol, some other Shabbos, I spoke about that growth that took place, the gula that took place when we left Mitzrayim, from being a chevtza of the beginning of the Haggadah is ma nishtan, ma, right? Just a question of what. Till finally echad, what at the end of the Haggadah? Mi yodei, who. That's the transition from being a body to being a soul and a body. When we were slaves in Egypt, when we were avodim, an eved is just a piece of flesh. He doesn't have his own self. He's owned by somebody. That's what it means to be an eved. So in the beginning of the Haggadah, everything, it's all about ma. What? The whole tachlis of leaving Mitzrayim is to get out of that confinement of the guf and to be able to ask the big question of echad mi yodei. It's no longer a matter of chevtza, it's now a gavra. You're not a thing, you're a person. A person asks big questions, doesn't just try to get more things. Try to get more things. To be free means to ask the question, me. That's what it means to grow. A little baby cares about only one thing, ma. That's why the baby's always saying mommy. At the end, the baby can come to me. But first it starts with ma. That's ma, me. You have to grow. But all the baby knows at the beginning is just ma. I want this, give me this is good. And many people never outgrow that. Gula means growing from manishtan to echad mi yodei. With all the other things I explained in that shir, but that's what it means. That change, that transformation. Instead of looking at yourself as a thing that wants more things, and then this thing will be better off if it has more things. To mature and to grow means to change from ma to me. That's why. So now the question is, am I going to go to a Pesach program now? Or am I going to go to technology? That's why technology is killing us. It's taking people and making them into things. It's so pathetic. The kids are morphing into phones. You see that. They not just that physically they can't let go. They're becoming themselves like phones. They're not people anymore. You look. My wife, we went yesterday to Yad Baruch Hashem Simcha to go to, and we drove to the Simcha, and it was and I was trying to make a turn, and there was a guy walking, looking at his phone, not a Ben Bris, looking at his phone, didn't look up for a second, even though he had a red light, and there were cars coming, didn't even look up for a second. And I don't want to honk to scare the guy, but the people started honking, and I was right over there in the front, and there was another car next to me, and And then he just makes this obscene. He looks up from the phone because he heard the honking. Doesn't get scared. It's like he just makes an obscene gesture. And keeps on looking at his phone and like moseying across. Walking at the speed of President Biden across the street. and like he's not a human being. He became a phone. He became a phone. And think of how you with the phone, how it's not about. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about becoming a goof, becoming a piece of plastic with a couple of wires in it. We have to fight against this. And everybody's crying every time they call me up. What do I do? My kid. I said, you be a kid. What about you? I had this conversation with somebody last week. He was calling me about this person was calling me about the kid, and I didn't know. I looked at my phone. I stopped looking. I look only a certain time. I looked at the phone, and he called me around 8 or 9 times, 30 seconds, a minute apart. And what do you want to talk about? His kid and technology. So I said, well, you got problems yourself, buddy. Like, put the thing down. Put your weapon down. Like 8, 9 times with like in a minute or two. He's the same name. Ding, 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 ding. And it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what's the matter with you? Well, this is very important. I don't tell him. He probably yarshened it from you. This is destroying the fabric of a human being and making him, instead of being a me, into a ma. And people don't know anymore how to put it down, how to stop this, how to just put it away for 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever. I understand if you work, you can't do that. You have to work, but to be able to see. So we had 3 days yontif, every yontif, right? Wasn't that something? 3 days. Chofesh amiti. Chofesh. I know this is hard for the women. I get it. It's hard with the food and everything like that. It's hard for the guys to eat so much. but the chofesh amiti. Because then you don't even have a yetzar for it. I mean, there's some people that do. It's scary. Some people, the Amkas do. But nobody, it's not even a yetzar. B'chlal, not a yetzar. Chofesh amiti, I'm talking to you. Me, you, me, 2 me's. Mi ani, mi ata. Instead of maze. Instead it's me, mize. Instead of maze. Every single kid, you're talking to your kid, maze. Nothing. Talk to your wife, you talk to maze. So you had 3 days where it was mize. It's called me. Who? Not what. There's an neshama in this person. Everything is going on like this. It's all the other maguf. Yeah, so they put on. You have all kinds of shirim on it. I understand, and a lot of good things. I understand that. People always say that, but the mitzias of the thing is a churban of the tzuras adam, a complete churban of the tzuras adam. And again, I'm not saying this as a kanois. You understand? I'm not saying this. I'm a sharm talk. You understand? I'm not saying this as kanois. I'm talking about this from a completely secular point of view. I'm not saying it's kanois. I understand the person works. I understand technology. I get it. I'm not saying it's kanos. I'm saying it's just mihu zev ezehu. It's unbelievable. Hashem should help us that we should be able to be free.